Okay, in this video, let's see how to use this REST API access policies. So these REST API access policies are used to restrict access to inbound REST APIs, like our custom scripted REST APIs or out-of-box REST APIs based on authentication type. So we can allow access to only to OAuth or only to basic like that, and the specified filter conditions. So we can define some filter conditions like based on IP address or roles or groups. So let's see how to configure this. So for checking this, I created two test users. One is test2 and another one is test1, and two OAuth clients. One is general client and another one is postman client. And one scripted REST API. I named it as test, and in that I created two get methods. I enabled version, so it will come as v1 and v2. If I open this v1, it is returning as hello v1, and the same as v2, it will return as v2. So I created a REST API access policy like this. So to see these modules, we need to enable some plugins. I will give this document link. We can see what are the plugins we need to install. So basically these are part of adapt to authentication plugin. So once we enable that plugin, and some other plugins are also needed like this one, REST policies related. Once those plugins are installed, we can see those modules here: REST API access, REST API access policies. So in this REST API access policies, I created this REST API access policy. So in this policy, I am restricting access to my custom created REST API. So this is my custom REST API. We can also restrict out of box one also. Here we can see table API also. We can, if we want, we can restrict access to that one also. For our testing, I just created my own scripted REST API. In that scripted REST API also, I am only restricting to get method and version v1, and resource path is this one. If we want to restrict all the API calls, then we can enable global here. So it will be applied on all the APIs and all the methods. We can check this box. Or else if we want to have a granular access, then we can uncheck all these methods. We can apply to all methods or apply to all resource or versions. So if we uncheck these buttons, we will get options. So for our testing, I am restricting only my scripted REST API test, and in that also get method version v1, and resource is this one. So here we will in this authentication policy, we will define the criteria. So if I open this record, so I am only allowing access to OAuth related authentications. So if we want to allow only basic, we can define only basic, or else we can define only OAuth. So for testing, I am enabling only to OAuth, and we can define some policy conditions also here. If I open this policy, here we can see inputs and policy conditions. So in the inputs, we can define three types of inputs based on IP or role based or group based. So for our testing, I have created on group based. So user need to be part of capacity management, then only he will be given access. So I created this input user part of capacity management group. So we need to use that input in our condition. So if I open this condition, here we will get that option user part of capacity management group is true. We need to save this. So at present I created a REST API access policy on my custom created test API on get method version v1 and resource path is this one, and I am allowing only OAuth type of authentication, and the user need to be part of capacity management group, then only he will get access to v1. So I will go to my postman. As we have two endpoints, one is v1 and one is v2. On v2 we don't have any restrictions, so I can access this with any authentication type. So first I am using basic authentication on v2. With basic authentication I will get the response and OAuth. And OAuth we have two client records, one is postman and one is general. I created here, right? One is general client and another one is postman client. So I generated tokens with that client ID, client secrets. So here if I use postman token, as there are no restrictions on v2, we can see the response. And with general token also we can see the response. And I created another token with the postman client OAuth record and test2 user. So whenever we are generating tokens, we need to give this client ID, client secret, and username, user password. So for normal ones I used this test user and created these two records. So these two are like postman with test user and general with test user. So these two are created with that postman client and test user, and this is created with general client and test user. But this one is created with postman with test2 user. So if we see here, username is test2 for these two test. So as there are no restrictions on v2, we can access with this any kind of authentication method and any kind of access token also. I can use basic or OAuth like that. Now let's see v1. On v1 we have restrictions. So if I use basic, it should not allow. It is not allowing as I created a access policy like that. So on v1 I am only allowing OAuth related type. So if it is OAuth, then only we are allowing access. So postman with test user and general with test user. For these two, no issues came. But if I use postman with the test2 user, he will not be given access. Why? Because if I see test1 record, he is a part of capacity management group. So he is giving he is able to access that endpoint. But this test2 user is not part of any group. Here in this policy we define, right? So first it need to be satisfy OAuth, and then the user need to be part of that capacity management group. So in this postman with test to user token, even the method is OAuth, the user which is used for generating this token is not part of that capacity management group. That is why he is denied access. So this is one of the way to restrict access to our custom endpoints or out of box endpoints to only allow OAuth basic authentication types, and we can check whether user is a part of some groups or he is having any roles or IP based also. Like this way we can restrict the access to our custom endpoints and out of box endpoints.